Michael, Rockin' Boxing Commentary, back with some more boxing. The title of this video is How Hurt Was Tyson Fury in the First Deontay Wilder Fight? So, this is a great fight. Two extremely talented fighters. Fury for his boxing and Deontay Wilder for his punching power. I think undeniably you gotta say, however, regardless of how you feel about these two fighters, they both have a lot of heart. So this fight really catapulted boxing to the forefront and captured the world's imagination. If you're a boxing fan who follows YouTube boxing channels, you'll be well aware that many people feel that Tyson Fury should have been knocked out in the first fight in the 12th round. I disagree with this, and I'm going to explain. Now, Deontay Wilder is a tremendous puncher, and he has a career full of spectacular knockouts. And certainly, when he knocked down Tyson Fury in the 12th round, that was a highlight reel spectacular knockdown. And I think that's enhanced by the fact that Tyson Fury is such a huge guy. So to see that oak tree come down is pretty dramatic. And you would think that Tyson Fury would be knocked out with the ferocity of that blow. However, I want the listeners to consider something. Now, if you consider knockdowns in boxing like Olympic diving, where you're giving a rating for how spectacular the knockdown looks, Deontay Wilder would have scored a 10 on that knockdown. However, I don't believe the rules of boxing or my opinion would judge that the level of spectacularness of the knockdown has any correlation with whether the fight should be immediately stopped. Go back to the 1920s. Heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey was actually knocked out of the ring, but he managed to get back in the ring by the count, before the count told, and he proceeded to knock his opponent down like 7 times or something and shatter a bunch of bones in his face. So Jack Dempsey was spectacularly knocked out of the ring by a bigger man, but he got back in the ring and he dominated his opponent. A boxing YouTuber who I listen to, Travis Gotti, who I agree with a lot of his opinions. However, he did a recent video when he said that when Tyson Fury got up, that he put his hands on the referee to support himself. I could see why he would say this, but I disagree. What I want you to compare the knockdown of Tyson Fury in round 12 with Deontay Wilder to is Lennox Lewis when he got knocked out by Oliver McCall in their first fight. Now, Tyson Fury, from my observations, we all know Tyson Fury has issues and he's a very intense guy. So people react to a savage punch in different ways. For whatever reason, when Tyson Fury got up from that knockdown, he was, from my observations, he was not dizzy, and he was completely switched on and ultra aggressive, which shows by the fact that I think most people would say that after the knockdown in round 12, if you take the knockdown out of the equation, Tyson Fury won the rest of that round. He was the aggressor, and he hurt Wilder more after the knockdown, which is really quite amazing considering, again, the savageness of the knockdown. When Travis Gotti said that Tyson Fury put his hands on the referee, Jack Reese, I believe, for balance and support, I believe that Tyson Fury, if you go back and watch the video, looked right into Jack Reese's eyes with his eyes wide open and pounded on Jack Reese's shoulders as if to say, I'm okay, I want to fight. I 100% get that from Tyson Fury touching the referee. So, respectfully disagree with Travis Gotti on his analysis that Tyson Fury was trying to get support to balance himself from Jack Reiss. Now, consider when Lennox Lewis was knocked down by Oliver McCall in the first fight. At the time, Lennox Lewis was an undefeated dominant heavyweight champion, and Oliver McCall was viewed as a journeyman. However, Oliver McCall hit Lennox Lewis with one single perfect punch that ended the fight. When Lennox Lewis got up for the knockdown, unlike Tyson Fury intentionally looking in the eyes of the ref and pounding his shoulders to show, hey, I'm okay, Lennox Lewis actually stumbled into the referee, and Lennox Lewis is also a huge guy, so the referee must have really felt Lennox stumbling into him. And that was because Lennox Lewis had lost all his equilibrium and balance and could barely stand, and he could have got seriously hurt, so it was a good stoppage. And of course, Lennox Lewis went on to a Hall of Fame career and become undisputed, several-time heavyweight champion, even after having the same experience after reestablishing his dominance later on in a fight with Hasim Rahman, in which he was similarly brutally KO'd, but showing his true heart as a champion and ability, as Evander Holyfield says, to make adjustments. He came back and inflicted a similarly devastating knockout right back on Hasim Rahman in their immediate rematch. So this isn't to take anything away from Lennox Lewis, one of the greatest heavyweight champions ever. However, I believe if you go back and look at that knockdown and focus on Fury's face and body language, he was clearly not knocked out, and clearly it was the right decision to let him continue as he won the rest of the round. Of course, Wilder did win the round with that spectacular knockdown. It could be argued that it was a 10-9 round in Wilder's favor, but I don't have any problem with the 10-8 round because of the spectacular nature of the knockdown. So that's about it. I just wanted to comment on this, and I'm sure that viewers will possibly notice that they feel that the count was a little bit long for the benefit of Tyson Fury. Well, that's not Tyson Fury's fault, and of course there was a famous long count that was in major headlines when Mike Tyson suffered his first loss to Buster Douglas, the argument being that Buster Douglas received a long count and should have been stopped by Mike Tyson. However, in that situation, when Buster Douglas got up, he gathered his faculties and then proceeded to put it on Mike Tyson and earn a legitimate stoppage, also showing that Buster Douglas received a fair shake and that he shouldn't have been stopped. And go back all the way to the 1920s, probably the most famous long count fight of all time, where Gene Tunney was knocked down by Jack Dempsey, and Tunney received a long count and got up and won the fight. So there's been a history of this. Let's not be unfair to Tyson Fury or say that Wilder should have won the first fight when that's clearly not the case. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to Rockin' Boxing Commentary and leave your comments in the comments section. Have a good one.